بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف وجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره. We were discussing the hadith from Imam Kazim alayhi salam about the significance of intellect, but then we approached the demise of Lady Masumah salamullah alayha. So for 4 weeks we talked about the lady. Now I'm going back to the rest of the hadith from her father, Imam Kazim alayhi salam, addressing Hisham ibn Hakam. As you remember, this hadith is narrated by the late Kulaini in Kitab al-Aql wal-Jahl, which is the very first part of the Kafi. According to the version that I am using now, is this particular part is on the page 17. The hadith starts beforehand. We have already reflected on some of the points which are mentioned in the middle of hadith. I'm not going to repeat. Just I read the last few words that we reflected on so that it can connect us to the remaining of the hadith. Ya Hisham, as-sabru ala al-wahda alamatu quvvat al-aql. To be able to remain patient with respect to being alone, to be ready for loneliness and reducing your contact with other people, shows the strength of intellect. We already talked about this point. And then Imam says, فَمَنْ عَقَلَ عَنِ اللَّهِ اعْتَزَلَ أَهْلَ الدُّنْيَا وَالرَّاغِبِينَ فِيهَا. Whoever is able to have some deep understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through a rational process, not just some kind of understanding without being based on rational understanding, not something that you have just heard. فَمَنْ عَقِلَ عَنِ اللَّهِ is able to understand Allah by reasoning and argumentation and actually making that idea your own idea. Because when you prove something for yourself, then it becomes yours. When you just accept by hearing from other people, this is their idea, it's not your idea. So if you are able to achieve such a deep understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, اعتزل أهل الدنيا. For such a person, dunya has no value, and therefore the people who are after dunya have no value. If I am a lover of dunya, then those who have money or position in dunya become significant for me. Why? Because through them, I want to achieve dunya. If I don't have interest in something, and then there are people who have spent all their life on that, they have no significance for me. Suppose I have no interest, for example, in collecting stamps. I'm not against that, I'm just giving as an example. I'm not interested in that. So those who have spent all their life on collecting stamps would not be for me special people. They are like any other person. Or if I have no interest, for example, in one of the, types of example, I don't have interest in, basketball. I don't want to offend anyone, just as an example. So if I don't have interest in basketball, so those who have spent their life in basketball are not very important for me. But if I have interest in basketball, then I go after these people. I want to spend some time with them. I want to take their signature. I want to keep their photo in my room, so on and so forth. So these people, because they have no interest in dunya, therefore اعتزل أهل الدنيا. Therefore they try not to be also with the people who spend their life and energy and time in dunya and worldly pleasure. So for them to be detached from these people, not only it's not difficult, indeed it's enjoyable, because then they would be able to spend more time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with the people who are dedicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, Imam says, اعتزل أهل الدنيا والراغبين فيها ورغب فيما عند الله. And instead, he would try to seek what is available with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ أُنْسَهُ فِي الْوَحْشَةِ وَصَاحِبَهُ فِي الْوَحْدَةِ. If he feels lonely, because wahsha in Arabic doesn't necessarily mean fear. Normally in Farsi when we say wahsha we mean fear. In Arabic wahsha is opposite to uns. And some animals are called wahshi, in Farsi we say wahshi, but indeed they are called wahshi not because they are wild, because they don't get used to human beings. They are always afraid of human beings. They don't want to come near us. These are those animals which are not used as pets or something, in farm and so on and so forth. So, wahsha means to feel lonely. There is no one with whom you can talk, no one to be taken as your companion. You remember the hadith from Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, in which he said that if all the people in the east and the west die for some reason, if there is no one left on the earth, but I am there and the Quran is with me, لَمَسْتَوْحَشْتُ. It doesn't mean I would not be frightened. No, it's more than that. It means I don't feel lonely. As a human being, you want to be with someone. You want to be in company of someone. Imam says, when Quran is with me, I don't feel I need anyone else. Of course, if there are people, I don't have problem with being with people. But suppose for some reason everyone dies, but Quran is with me, I don't feel lonely, because then I feel Allah is with me. لَمَسْتَوْحَشْتُ. So, wahsha means to feel lonely. And Imam says, such people who have this strong intellectual understanding of Allah, كَانَ اللَّهُ أُنْسَهُ فِي الْوَحْشَةِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would be their companion, their friend, their acquaintance when they are alone. وَصَاحِبَهُ فِي الْوَحْدَةِ. The same thing. وَغِنَاهُ فِي الْعَيْلَةِ. When he is not able to afford for buying what he needs, when he is poor or he has lots of people under his care, therefore he suffers from poverty. Allah is his rich. Allah is the wealth that he has. وَمُعِزَّهُ مِنْ غَيْرِ عَشِيرَةٍ. Many people, their honor and dignity comes through their family, through their tribes, through their party, through their union. They don't have any honor or dignity from themselves. But such people, they don't need anyone to give them honor and dignity. They don't want to gain honor from a very famous, family that they come from, or very famous, tribe that they belong to. Their honor comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if you are connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you are not in need of anyone to give you honor. مُعِزَّهُ مِنْ غَيْرِ عَشِيرٍ. Okay. This is remaining of the previous part. The new part starts from here. Imam says, Ya Hisham, truth is to be able to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we are interested in truth, which we must be, it's not a choice. Indeed, one of the things that make human beings distinct from other beings is that other beings, they follow their own normal line of life just to secure their own interests. They want to survive. They want to have some food. They want to have some shelter. They want to reproduce. They don't have any kind of concern for the truth. So if, for example, you tell an animal, suppose you are able to do that, If you tell to an animal, in addition to your food and shelter and having a pair, do you want to know something more about this world? Do you want to discover the truth? No. What I have is enough for me. I don't have any concern for the truth. Or for example, if you tell them, do you want to know the truth about what is happening in another part of the world? They don't have any interest. They are very focused, but in a not in a positive way. Also, you cannot blame them. This is the way they are created. They are very focused on their own life, nothing more. As the late Ayatollah Mutahhari says, they don't have even universal concepts. They don't have general concepts. Sometimes I make this example. I said, if there is for example, mouse here, and that mouse sees a cat, immediately runs away. But it's not that the mouse has a universal concept of cat. They don't have philosophy. They don't have, any kind of universal understanding that what we should do as, mice against cats. They don't have such a thing. They understand only particulars. In any way, they don't have any concern for the truth. We human beings, in addition to having concern for our own interest and survival, we have concern for the truth. Therefore, even if you guarantee me that knowing this truth is not going to change anything in my life, still I want to know it. Or if I know that I'm going to die, but still I want to know it. The example of Abu Rayhan Biruni, when he was going to die, one of his neighbors who was a jurist went to see him. And Abu Rayhan Biruni, who was a mathematician, astronomer, asked him some question about fiqh, about jurisprudence. His friend said, you are going to die, why you are asking? He said, is it better to die while I know, or to die without knowing this? If you say to this an animal, he says it's the same. If you ask a dog, or a cow that, is it better to die while you know or not? It's the same. But for a human being, it's not the same. We have concern for the truth. And this is not just to know the truth. Indeed, knowing the very first step. After knowing, there can be lots of implications. In many cases, when you know the truth, that truth requires you to do something. You cannot just say, okay, I know the reality and that's it. Sometimes when you know the truth, you have to change your life. Sometimes when you know the truth, you have to change your whole even setting and environment. Maybe you would ask for other people to join you, to change, to reform. Or, for example, sometimes when you know the truth, you realize that you have wasted your time, you have to repent. Or sometimes when you know the truth, you know that there are people who are in need of your help. So there are many, many implications that may come. And just to know is not enough. To know is just a beginning. So, we human beings have this concern for the truth, which is very important. And it is part of us as being human. If there is a person who says, I am a human being and I have no interest in truth, so this is alarming. This is a very bad symptom. If someone says, I don't bother about truth, this is very bad. So we have this concern for the truth. But some people, for them, knowing everything is as valuable as other things. For example, they just go to a library and pick up a book and start reading. They go to a news, for example, shop and news agent, and they take something and they just read it. Or they go to internet and just surf the internet and they just read it. Okay, it's good that you have this habit of reading. It's good that you want to know more, but this is not proper way. Because there are so many things that have not that much impact on our life. We have to be focused. So although there can be many pieces of truth, there can be many different items of truth, we have to find out those which are useful, those who are more beneficial for us. Especially in our age, this is a challenge for us. Maybe in the past, maybe 200 years ago, a person who was, for example, not a scholar, but a normal person would not see in his life more than 10-20 books. Average people. No newspaper, no journal, no magazine, no internet, maximum seeing 10-20 books. We are bombarded with lots of material, lots of literature. There are so many books to read, so many, articles, papers, websites, TV channels. We are bombarded with data. And these can involve some truth. Indeed, it is very hard to find something which is absolutely free from truth. Even those things which are not produced by good people, they put some truth in it so that they can attract you. But it's a matter of priority. We have to find out which one is more truthful, which one enjoys more compliance with the truth, which one can better help us in our pursuit of truth. Therefore, we have to be very selective. Otherwise, we don't go anywhere. In this age, if we are not selective, we waste our life and time and energy. We have to be very selective. So this is something that we have to master, how to be selective. And to be selective, you have to have your priorities set up. Without that, you cannot say, I have priority, or I have, focus, or I have orientation. You should know what are you looking for, what are you after that. Okay? According to the Quran, according to Islam, there is one thing that can set up for us all priorities. There is one thing that can help us to have focus in our life. There is one thing that can mobilize all our efforts and energy and talents for prosperity of ourselves and other people. So not only it secure my interest, at the same time it secure interest of other people. And that is when you go towards the source and origin of everything which has a truth in it. And that is Al-Haq. And that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you decide about anything other than Allah, according to the distance that that thing has with Allah, according to the closeness or remoteness of that thing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you will be focused. قُلِ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ ذَرْهُمْ. But this doesn't mean that you say Allah, then you don't bother about anything else. No, it means that be concerned with Allah, be focused on Allah, and anything that one takes you away from Allah, leave it. But anything which accepts to come under Allah, take it. Why we remove idols from our life, or we try to do this? Because they want to occupy a place that doesn't belong to them. They want to replace Allah. That is wrong. But anything which accepts to be under Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's useful for us, that's beneficial. And it is partly to us, partly to them. Because even the most sacred things, if we are not careful, we may take them as idols. They become hijab, they become a veil, even if they are created from light. Like knowledge. Knowledge, which is one of the best things which is available for us, if we are not careful with knowledge, that knowledge may, na'uzu billah, replace Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if it comes under Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if it is because of your love for Allah, you seek knowledge, And when you increase your knowledge, you feel that you love more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's good. The same is with anything, even money, even fame, reputation, everything. If it comes under Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it becomes haqq. Otherwise it becomes batil. So this is the focus that we have to find. This is the orientation that we have to adopt in our life, that we go towards the source of the truth and try to adjust ourselves according to the truth. And anything else, we will measure it according to the relation that it has with the truth. Therefore, Imam alayhi salam says, Nasbul haq li ta'atillah. The whole issue in having truth is to be able to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How can someone say, I don't obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I am concerned with the truth? It's impossible. If you are concerned with the truth, you have to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If someone has a concern for health, cannot ignore what the best doctor of the world tells him about his health. If you have the best medical team in the world and they give you some instructions, can you ignore them and still you claim that you love health? You love medicine? It's impossible. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us to do something, He is showing us how to be more united with the truth, how to raise your level in this hierarchy of truth. You know, there is a sense that maybe once we should talk about it. How can you become more true? It's possible for us. We can be true, we can become more true, and we can be false and more false. Fir'aun is batil. What does it mean Fir'aun is batil? If you say Fir'aun is false, what does it mean? It means that the type of orientation that he has in his life is misguided and at the same time misguiding. Therefore, Fir'aun is batil. Although as a person he is true. There is something here, there is an object here, there is a physical body here. You cannot say it's pseudo being. It's a real being. It weighs maybe 70 kilograms, 80 kilograms. I don't know how fat he was. But this is a reality. But at the same time, Fir'aun is batil. Okay? Because of the orientation that he had in his life and the way he was misguiding people. On the other hand, you have people who are haqq, not al-haqq. They are haqq because they are oriented towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the closer you become to Allah, the more truth will embody in you. So you become truer and truer. Okay, this is something that maybe we should talk about it in another time. So Imam alayhi salam says that the whole point in being concerned about truth is to be able to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَا نَجَاةَ إِلَّا بِالطَّاعَةِ. There is no possibility of being saved except through obedience. Because obedience of Allah means to take His instructions. If a person gives you instructions and you know that that person masters that discipline or that art. Suppose that person is a painter. Suppose that person is a good driver. I don't know. He has some skills. He gives you instructions. If you follow the instructions, you become like him or close to him. If you don't listen, if you don't bother, so you will never achieve that skill. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the purest of the pure, the best of the best, the most merciful of the merciful, and the truth. So if we follow His instruction, there is a chance for us to become pure, to become good, to be merciful, and to be true. Otherwise, there is no possibility of being saved. La najata illa bi-ta'ah. It's very simple. وَالطَّاعَةُ بِالْعِلْمِ. Okay, I want to obey Allah. I have to know what instructions He has given us. Without knowledge, without understanding, how can I obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Oh Allah, I want to obey you, but I don't want to learn anything. It's impossible. If you want to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to know. La ta'ata, la najata illa bi-ta'a, wa ta'atu bil-ilm. Obedience is possible through knowledge. Wal-ilmu bit-ta'allum. And if you want knowledge, you have to seek knowledge. You have to learn. Knowledge is not something that you can buy in the market or you can, inject to your body. Knowledge needs efforts. Knowledge needs learning. You have to study, you have to go to school, to hawza, you have to sit next to ulama and learn from them. Because without learning, you cannot gain knowledge, and without knowledge, you cannot obey Allah, and without obeying Allah, you cannot achieve your happiness. So, la najata illa bit-ta'ah, wa-ta'atu bil-ilm, wal-ilmu bit-ta'allum. There is one sentence here which is very important. One of the sentences that remained in my mind from the very first time I read this hadith, maybe, I don't know, more than 20 years ago, is this particular sentence. It's very beautiful. وَالتَّعَلُّمُ بِالْعَقْلِ يُعْتَقَدْ وَالتَّعَلُّمُ بِالْعَقْلِ يُعْتَقَدْ. There is a difference between knowing and believing in something. By learning, you can come to know something, but if you want to believe in that, you have to think about it. You have to rationalize. You have to get involved in reflection, meditation. I may be able to learn how to prove God in many ways, different arguments for existence of God. I can learn them, even I can, pass exams if you examine me and get best results. But to believe that God exists is different. To know that God exists is something, and to believe, that is to have a firm belief in your heart, is something. Some that your mind is convinced, but your heart is not convinced. By the way, this is different from the way belief is used in some Western, literature, because sometimes when they say belief is less than knowledge, here what we say is different, because sometimes they believe without knowing something. What I am saying is different. Here we mean by belief to have firm understanding, conviction in your heart. And this comes when you know something by your mind, but at the same time you have so much thought about it and reflected on it that it has become crystal clear for you. Sometimes, for example, you believe that God exists. You believe that hereafter is going to come. But the way you act doesn't show that you believe in them. If I believe in God, why I should be jealous? If I believe in the hereafter, why I don't prepare myself for the hereafter? Yeah, so there's a difference between knowing and believing in something. If you want to believe in something, Imam Kazim alayhi salam said, you have to think about it. So sometimes, when I think about the significance of tafakkur in Islam, why so much contemplation is important in Islam, that some hadith says it's like worshipping for 1 year, some hadith says worshipping 60 years, some hadith says 70 years. Tafakkur sa'a. Why it is so important? I think one reason is that without contemplation, you cannot really grasp it. Maybe your mind is finished with that, it's done, but still your heart is struggling. So it's contemplation that can make a connection between your heart and mind. And when mind and heart both are convinced, then your body cannot do anything else. You cannot practice in a different way. When both heart and mind give the same direction, then we definitely be pious. So, at-ta'allumu bil-aqli yu'taqad. So it's not just a matter of memorizing something. You have to think about it and be able to argue for it. وَلَا عِلْمَ إِلَّا مِنْ عَالِمٍ رَبَّانِي. Real knowledge cannot be gained except from a person who has knowledge and connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because what is true ilm? This is another discussion that we have had, somewhere else with some brothers. Some of them are here maybe. That ilm is used in Islamic sources in different ways. Ilm is not always used in this sense. For example, when it says "Utlubul ilm walau bis-Sin," seek knowledge even if it requires you to travel to China, that knowledge was not knowledge of religion necessarily, or the knowledge that you gain it from alim Rabbani. Knowledge can be general, and therefore this is why we say we have ilm nafi', knowledge which is beneficial, and we have ghayr nafi', which is not beneficial. Knowledge has been used in different ways, but the best type of knowledge, the knowledge that if you have, you are not ignorant. It's a beautiful concept that Imam Ali says. There are people who have knowledge but they are ignorant. رُبَّ عَالِمٍ قَتَلَهُ جَهْلُهُ. He has knowledge but he acts unwisely. His mind is full of information, but his actions, which is the balance of what his mind and heart are doing, is not taking him to the right direction. So he's jahil. Jahil doesn't mean the one who doesn't know. Jahil means the one who doesn't act wisely, rationally. If you want to have that type of knowledge, that then you act rationally and wisely, you need your heart and mind be connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a kind of operation, a surgery that only ulama Rabbani can do with you. There is a blockage, imagine a person has blockage in one of his blood vessels. So there is no connection, good connection between his brain and heart. So that person soon becomes tired, is very weak, cannot think properly. You need a surgery. So you need to take this blockage. Ulama Rabbani are able to remove any blockage between your heart and mind. And when blockage is removed, then you start connecting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then over time you yourself become alim Rabbani and you can do this with other people. Otherwise, people just give you information. Then you have to gain information from them and you look for someone who can do that surgery for you. It's like, for example, you need some equipments and medicine for surgery, but then you need a person who actually does that operation. So other people can give us equipments and medicine and so on and so forth, but at the end we need someone who does this. La ilma illa min alimin Rabbani. Anyone other than ulama Rabbani just can give you some information that can be useful. And we have to learn. But don't be satisfied with that. Even if you write lots of books and papers, but you don't feel there is a connection between heart, there is no harmony between your heart and mind, and you are not connected to Allah, So it's still half the way. Still half the way. Okay, I think we are approaching the time of Salat, so I stop here. The last thing that inshallah is that thing from this part that we have to discuss is وَمَعْرِفَةُ الْإِلْمِ بِالْعَقْلِ. Then Imam starts another phrase. So inshallah we start from مَعْرِفَةُ الْإِلْمِ بِالْعَقْلِ. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to seek the truth and act upon the truth inshallah all the time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring harmony to our heart and mind and connect us to Himself inshallah. May Allah enable us to be in dunya at the service of ulama rabbaniyin, and inshallah in akhirah at the service of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam all the time. May Allah inshallah heal all the brothers and sisters who are ill. May Allah enrich all the people who suffer from poverty. May Allah bring peace and justice to this world by the appearance of Imam Mahdi ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. And may Allah enable us to serve him before and after he comes. May Allah forgive all the mu'mineen who have passed away, especially those who have rise upon us, our parents, foreparents, teachers, ulama, maraja, and the late Imam Khomeini. May Allah make them, all of them, inshallah, right now at the service of Ahlul Bayt and their guests. May Allah, inshallah, enable us to leave behind us good memories and lots of services for the sake of Islam and, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And may Allah, inshallah, keep our children, our youths, next generation on the right path, inshallah. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.